Yo. What's going on, guys? You guys doing good? I feel so cool right now. I'm up with these cool people. I'm an honorary senior for the night. It's senior night. So, hey, real quick before we get started, I'm curious, how many guys took part of the 7-day worship music challenge and enjoyed that, had a good time with that? Thank you guys so much for those of you guys that did that. Those of you guys that don't know what I'm talking about, we did a 7-day, worship music only, just kind of 7-day social experiment. And so really kind of gave that challenge last week. Hopefully you guys took part of that. That's always going to be up on our Spotify page. And so if you're ever just thinking man, I just need a break from everything else, I need to focus, that'd be a great way to do that. And so I encourage you guys to jump in with that. Been having some great nights the last couple of weeks. So tonight is all about the seniors, though. And so we've got just a few of the seniors from this year's class up here with us. And so we're going to kind of be chatting with them a little bit. But let's do this. Let's introduce ourselves before. I'm Matt, by the way. I should have said that first. But hi. Good to see you guys.
Hey. So. Hey. Thanks. I'm Brittany. Yeah, okay. Whatever.
Hi, I'm Shelby.
I'm Oba. What's up, guys? I'm Dante.
Hey, everyone. I'm Vanessa.
Hi, I'm Maddie. And I'm Manny.
Cool. All right, so where's the rest of the seniors at, just so I can see you guys, show you guys some love. Got some of y'all, so I see you guys. Hey, so if you're just joining us or are newer to the Capitol, welcome. We're super glad that you guys are here. You came on a really cool night because this is something we've been talking a lot about this year, probably to the point that I've irritated all the non-seniors in the room, and so I've been 100% okay with that. And so what we've been trying to build over the last couple of years is a culture where you peak out on top at senior year. And this class has some unique history with me. This is my first class here at Victory that I've gotten to take in from they were ending 8th grade when I came in, and got to take them now all the way through high school. And so I'm gonna hold back the emotions for now. Not excited to see this class go, but early on, kind of setting the stage with them, this was a lot of you guys that are in different small groups and things like this. This was the first class that took that leap of faith to multiply into 2 separate groups when they were sophomores, to say for the sake of bringing so many of you guys into the family, it's hard. Imagine how much you love your small group. Imagine having to break that down in half so that you can reach more people. And imagine being the first ones to do that without knowing the results. And so that was this class. And so shout out to the Brostex, to McGratha, to Kyle, to Anthony, all the different people that have helped. I'm going to leave a lot of names out, but all the people that have helped lead those groups throughout the years, that's a huge deal. Michaela, Logan, I'm missing now. I'm tempted to go down the line. I'm so sorry if I'm racking all the different names. So I love you guys. Really could not do it. I say it all the time. Could not do it without the small group leaders. But this is a victorious moment for all of us, that we get to kind of set the new stage for kind of expectations for Capitol, for senior classes. And so this is kind of just a passing of the baton kind of a night. And so really excited and looking forward to the future. But I just want to kind of toss it to these guys. Let's get to know a little bit of their heart. We had some of you guys submit some questions from within the seniors as well as from some of the other classes, and kind of lump them into some generalized questions that, as they're kind of ending their senior season careers, kind of some advice they'd give to you guys. Some of you guys are maybe getting ready to enter high school. Some going from you survived freshman year, come on Jesus. Some of you guys getting ready to go into upper class stage, all that stuff. It's that time to look back and to reflect and to be excited for the future. And so I'm gonna jump right in. I don't want to do all the talking tonight. So first question off the top, just so we can kind of set the stage, is you got to pick one or the other, Marvel or DC? This is the all important question. Marvel or DC? So I don't know who wants to go first.
Okay. As much as I love both, I'm going to have to go with Marvel.
Yeah, so I'm the worst person to answer this question because I don't really know, nor do I really care.
Team I don't care? Anyone else on Team I don't care?
I don't care.
Okay, there's a few guys. All
I'm
right.
sorry.
There's a lot of y'all on Team I don't care.
That's all I have to say.
So the question is basically Team Marvel or Team 30 Batman movies? Nothing against the Batman movies, but I'm Team Marvel, for sure.
All I have to say is I'm not feeling too well.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
How could you do that? Oh my gosh.
Why'd you do that, Opa?
I'm Marvel all the way, obviously. Yeah, just the best.
Yeah, Marvel, definitely.
Yeah, definitely Marvel.
Is anyone Team DC out there at all? A few of you guys? I will say, Dark Knight trilogy is like way up there. It is way up there. It's like, yeah, it's way up there. But yeah, they've messed up too many movies. Like it's not that Marvel has dominated. It's DC has ruined it. They've ruined it. All right, let me ask you this question. How do you? Oh, that's my daughter. How do you honor your parents when it feels like sometimes maybe they're just coming down on you or feeling like nagging you guys? Like, just how do you handle like the midst of that? Because we know we're supposed to honor our parents. What would you guys say to those guys like trying to honor their parents?
I think, first of all, I want to identify the two types of parents. There's the parents that love Jesus, and then there's the parents that don't know Jesus. But the only commandment in the Bible that comes with a promise is honoring your father and mother. So that speaks a lot of volumes as Christians and as disciples in this room that honoring is more of a mindset and an attitude and a positioning of your heart rather than allowing what your parents say or do, meaning it's okay. I think for me personally, sometimes I've got to just remind myself, okay, how does the Lord view me? How do I view myself? And in the midst of those trials, you just got to understand that your parents, at the end of the day, whether or not we don't admit it all the time, a lot of times they just see things that sometimes we don't see, or they see, I love you, Miss Stephanie. But a lot of times there are things that they truly see the capability in us and they see where we can go. And sometimes we limit our focus to what we want right now. So I think the mindset behind those that have Christian parents, understand one thing, that your boundaries are not there to limit you, but they're there to protect you from something that could hurt you. So it's definitely hard. I'm not saying it's an easy process, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not the easiest daughter to get along with, for sure. But it's just a mindset. I just have to understand that the Lord sees me. The Lord sees when those, conversations happen, when that nagging happens, when it's difficult. I know that the Lord blesses me because in return, I'm trying my personal best to honor them back. And honoring doesn't have to be, oh my gosh, dying to the floor and like whatever you want. That's not what that means, but just loving them and just making wiser choices in that process. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
In my experience, I know that a lot of times I mistook my parents being critical for being like judgmental or hateful. And that was just, viewing it through my own lens of hurt. But in reality, my parents demanded a lot of me because they knew that I could produce a lot. And not to get into it, but like especially as an African American male, like in the South, you definitely have to exude an air of excellence in everything that you do. And my parents knew that beforehand. But their drive and their demanding a lot of me became contagious, and it helped me to demand a lot of myself as well. So even though it's really hard sometimes, and even though my parents can be pretty critical, I definitely wouldn't have it any other way. Like, I would want my parents to be on me. I would want them to demand a lot of me, because I know that I wouldn't be able to get a lot out of myself if they didn't do that.
Yeah, I definitely have to echo what Dante has to say. A lot of the times I try to see things through the way I see them. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a great communicator, so like they're just gonna say it the way I do. And like obviously, like you have to remember that there are books on parenting, but not everyone, there are people who grew up and had kids, and that's just gonna be the same thing. So they all have their own personality traits, and they all have their own styles of communication. So if you take it from your own lens and your own perspective, you're more bound to get hurt. And recently I was just watching like a sermon message, series about, the dude was talking about seeing the purpose in the place that you're in. And there's a lot of good things, and we just get caught up. I know for me personally, I get caught up a lot in the place I'm at with the circumstances, and I don't see the fact that God's put me there to learn certain things that are gonna be for my own purpose. And the fact that if I keep fighting that place, I just won't see the purpose that I have, and he's gonna keep me there until I learn my lesson, so.
Wow, that's really cool. This is like this whole night is going to be an exercise in restraint for a preacher with a microphone. But I mean, like, I so badly don't want to give commentary. But I do want to ask this: how many of you guys in here, like, your parents were not born in America? Like, your parents are from a different country. Look at that. I love asking a question like that at a church like Victory. That's cool. I just want to acknowledge you guys for a second, because I think there is an added dynamic to that. And because you guys have the extra challenge of learning two cultures at one time, right? Like you're being brought up with your parents' historical culture, and you're being raised in an American context, and you're trying to understand both. Because a lot of times, especially in the parenting world, especially in suburban America, in contrast with some other countries and their parenting styles, so I just want to say, like, I see you, I get that. That is a challenge. And the other thing, just as a dad now, just understand, like, just giving them grace, like, they're doing the best they can. I would say it like this: a lot of times, we're only able to love to the extent that we understand love. And so you have to go back to how were their parents, and how were their parents' parents. You have to go down and say, you know, chances are they were extending love the best they know how. And so all we can do is extend grace and try to approve upon that for ourselves once we become parents ourselves. So that's awesome. Second question, well, I guess third question, because we all, even though Marvel, that wasn't really a question, that was just like, let's get the obvious out of the way. Is this one: were you always as strong in your faith as you are right now?
Obviously not. I think it's important for us to go through hard times in life and kind of grow in our faith to be able to acknowledge, like, I was here at one point and now I'm here. And I think that's a very important part about Christianity, is just being able to recognize that sometimes it's not about like that end goal, but more of what we learned throughout the journey, that like I went through this, I went through that, and that's what made me stronger, and that's why I am in the place I am today. So obviously not, and it's a growing process, definitely. It's something that you have to tackle every single day and make a conscious choice, like, I have to work on this daily, but I'm definitely not where I was, and it's a growing process, so yeah.
I know definitely I'm not where I was even like a week ago right now. Because kind of like what Manuela said, it's truly one of those things that you have to walk in every single day. And I think if you're going to choose to be in this kind of, like, if you're going to be choose to be a Christian and choose to follow God, you're gonna hit a few roadblocks, or you're gonna be faced with a bunch of situations where you're gonna have to choose, am I gonna let this grow me, or am I just gonna kind of just chill and stay in my comfort zone? And those moments have been a lot of what has grown me. And I can truly say, and I remember a while ago, I think I was in middle school, but I remember we were all going around in small group. I don't even know what we were talking about, but I remember saying the words like, it was when we were talking about where do you see yourself in like the future, like 10 years, 5 years, whatever. And I said, I want to have grown, but I don't want to have stopped growing, because truly, like, I've grown from yesterday to right now, and I want to be able to look back at, my life and say, like, wow, like, that's where I was, and now I'm here, and let that motivate me to get further and closer to God. So.
Kind of to add off of that, like, same with me, absolutely not. I am not in the same place I was 4 years ago when I became a Christian. And I think it's important to realize that it's a choice to grow in your faith, that you have to choose each and every day that you want to say, yes, God, I want to know you more today than I knew you yesterday. It's a conscious choice that you have to say, God, you're going to show me something new today, and I want to know what that is. And each and every day throughout my high school career, I just had to say, I know it may be a hard day, but I know there's some good in this day that you're going to teach me. That through the hardships, I have to choose to learn something of your truth out of those and not dwell in whatever hardship I'm going through. And I think that's so important to remember, that you have to keep that in your heart, and most of all, just your mind each and every day, that God is always there to say, I'm going to help you, but you have to accept that help, and you have to choose to grow in what he's teaching you throughout that day.
That's really cool. That's awesome. Hey, so question again to you guys. How many guys, like, you don't maybe know exactly when you would say you became a Christian, but it was young and you pretty much, like, grew up in the church? Let me see, like, that group of people. Okay, cool. How many guys, like, maybe far other end of the spectrum, maybe, like, just started getting, like, serious about Jesus this school year? Somewhere in this school. All right, quite a few of you guys. That's awesome. How many of you guys, like, somewhere in between? Like, it's been a handful of years or less? Somewhere in that range. Okay, very cool. Yeah, so that's awesome. You know, so you heard a lot of this. I think for that first group, it's a matter of like making that your own, making that transition. For the other two groups, I just want to encourage you guys. Like, if it doesn't feel like now what it was at first, you guys need to especially lean in and hear kind of what they had to say, because this is the point where it gets real. Like, chances are you are maturing in your walk. You're going through a lot of what they were talking through. But the emotions have faded, and so just be encouraged. Like, you are doing what they have said, and so just keep going, keep doing what you guys are doing. That's awesome. Next question is this one. Oh, hello. This is gonna be awesome. What are your thoughts about dating during high school? Dang. I know my thoughts. No. No. So, if you want additional commentary. I was just playing. Like, no. What do you guys have to say for that, for real?
About dating, that's a good topic. I've had a really great opportunity of watching a lot of my friends go through dating relationships in their own way. So I've seen people do it the right way, and it turned out amazing. And I've seen people do it the wrong way, and it crashed and burned, and it was terrible to see that. So I've had to see a lot of different perspectives. From that, I think the number one thing to remember when going into a high school relationship or considering if you should is whether that person is on the same track as you as far as following God. Because I've seen so many people that it's like, yeah, they're a great person, they like you, it's great, but they're not pursuing God the way you are, and eventually one of you, you're going to have to be on the same track. So they're either going to come up with you to pursue God, or you're going to have to come down with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, I'm good. Go.
All right. Yeah. Funny enough, if you know me, my answer is going to be very, very strange. I'm really going to say no. I don't think it should be something that should happen because, like, all right, but there's a lot I've learned when I'm growing up, because you have to learn that you cannot fill a hole that only God can with a person, and that's what I ended up doing a lot when I was real younger. But it's like, I'm like for real, because I used to struggle all the time with like worth and value the entire time when I was growing up, probably through, I don't know, man, probably like last retreat really. And like it'd always be like, oh, that one person that'd be like, they just think, oh, you're extra funny, or your style's extra cool. And I'd be like, oh, well, I guess this is the one I'm marrying. So like it'd be a pursuit of that, and then it's just like I'd have people be like, well, I'd learn, and people would tell me, you have to understand that like you're called not to be unequally yoked. Otherwise, like Dante talked about this when he was preaching in the city one time. He talked about being unequally yoked, and basically it's like a mechanism for two beasts of burden that helps them walk together. And if one person isn't chasing God with as much fervor as you can, the other person, like, something will die, a neck will be broken, and that's a sort of, that's like a, not like you will, you know what I'm saying, spiritual death. I'm dramatic, but
if you date wrong, you will break your neck. That's what you need to write that down.
Facts.
Write that down.
Preach.
Okay. But yeah, really, I think like you have to understand that you cannot expect people to do that, and that's such a hard, like in this stage of my life where like I'm moving forward into my own season, like I have to learn also that I'm not, like if I find someone that I think that there's a potential future with, like I can't invest my entire time into that, because that's also not what God called me to do. Like if I'm texting him 24/7, like I'm not growing and I'm not moving forward in my walk. So you're always called to grow in that fashion. So it's such a hard dichotomy because we grow up learning that, oh yeah, like we know what looks good on Instagram, but like that'll fade away eventually. And then when the puppy love is gone, like what are you gonna do? Are you gonna have someone that's like, oh yeah, you look cute, or are you gonna have someone that's gonna like help both of you pursue upward?
That was really good. That was really good.
Thanks.
Cool. So, well, I'm just gonna try to put this as practically as possible, okay? So, dating is a Western construct. Like, it's something that we've come up with, like, in the Western part of the world very recently. So the Bible doesn't talk very specifically about it. So it's a little bit difficult. But, I mean, you have to follow the prompting of the Spirit. And the way that high school is just set up, like, just the idea of high school and the design of high school, it's a launching pad for the rest of our lives. And more than often, like, we're gonna be launching in different directions anyway. And if you're not dating with the intent of marriage, then you're really just throwing your heart in a blender for fun. Right? Am I right?
You're right.
I thought so.
You're right.
I thought so.
You're
I
right.
thought I was pretty right. Yeah, you're just throwing your heart in a blender for fun. Like, you're just hurting yourself for no good reason. And marriage being a covenant relationship is something meant to last forever. So if you're not confident that you and this other person are moving in the same direction with the Lord forever, like not for the next 3 months, not for the next 2 weeks, but for the rest of time, then you're setting yourself up for failure anyway. Thanks. So to answer the question, it is very, 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 very rarely a good idea to date in high school. Pretty much no. Pretty much never. Yeah, basically never.
Okay. Can I get the sermon notes?
Yeah, I'll send it to you later. I got you.
That's fantastic. That's really cool. That was awesome. That was good, right? Yeah, you guys are good. I hope you guys listen as loud as you clap. That's all I'm gonna say. I hope you guys listen as loud as you clap. And I was like, just from the 2 cents that I would add to that, just from, obviously what they said was spot on, but just your choices have consequences. And so just as a pastor, what's really frustrating is when you don't heed sound advice from your older brothers and sisters, your small group leaders, your pastors. You think they're the one, we know they're not the one, you do that anyway, then you break up. And now I hate seeing people that aren't in this room because you broke up with them. Like, and their friendship circles and everything else that comes with it and all the drama. Like, I hate that we stifle God's kingdom because of our own selfish dating desires. So just be mindful, like, your choices have ripple effect. It's not just about you. Let's see, All right, this one's kind of I was awing because I keep messing up my iPad and looking at beautiful pictures of my girls. What would you say to the person who's sitting there? This is their question. Are you scared that life maybe won't turn out the way that you've always dreamed it would? Like, what would you say to that?
Yeah, this is something that I used to struggle with. I think more now I have the right mindset. But is anybody like a planner in here? Yeah. See, yeah, where's Bree? Where is Bree? Anyway, she's standing up. You're amazing. Okay. I love to plan things, but I'm horrible at planning. So I've always had like an idea for how I want my life to go out, but like I've never actually put things in line to like make it work. And I think that's because I've always been kind of scared that I'm gonna make the wrong move or go on the wrong path. Like, whenever I am set to like make a decision, I feel like paralyzed because I'm like, God, like I just don't want to do what you don't want me to do. Like, when I was trying to figure out what I was supposed to do after high school, I was torn to pieces. And God, he told me from the beginning of high school what I was going to do. And I was just like, well, what if that's not what you want from me? Like, what if, like, I know that you put me here, and I know that I love this, and I know that, like, I know how to, like, fulfill my passion and my purpose in this, but, like, what if this isn't what you want me to do? And it's honestly terrifying. But something that God really told me and, like, instilled in my heart was, like, God is going to make everything work out for my good. Because I could go down the wrong path, and I could, I guess, mess up a bunch or just turn out in the wrong, career field or the wrong atmosphere or something like that. But I know that somehow God will bring me back right to where he needs me. I've found personally that there's a lot of ways that I can try to get away from God, but I just can't escape truly what he has for me, because I've reached that level with him to where I know in my heart that this is where I'm meant to be. I know that he's real, and I know that he has a purpose for me. And I feel like as long as you're working for the Lord in everything that you do, and as long as you're wanting to do what God wants you to do, as long as you're wanting God's will for your life, then there's not really much that God won't do for you.
That's really good. That's really good. I used to be pretty much the same way. I was like a huge planner, but I mean, the Holy Spirit has hit every plan that I've ever had for my life with a bus several times. Like, it's not even, like, I used to want to be a basketball coach, and then I tore my rotator cuff, so that's out. I used to want to do zoology, but my grades do not support a zoology career, so that's out. And I had plan after plan after plan after plan after plan, but God's plan has just always been better, and he's been trying to tell it to me, but y'all are funny. Yeah, y'all hilarious. Drake got swept. Anyway, God's plans have always been bigger and better, and I've ignored them. And I remember in the Bible, Jonah ignored God's plans too, and he got swallowed by a fish. So luckily, before I got to like a proverbial fish, I not only let Jesus take the wheel, but I just went ahead and got in the passenger seat, because I am a terrible God. I am a terrible God. His plans are way bigger and way better than mine are. So I used to be really afraid that my life would not turn out the way that I planned it, but my only plans now is to glorify God wherever I end up and let him worry about where I end up.
That's awesome. So to you guys, I would say this just as a kind of a disclaimer, because unfortunately, some of you guys have been taught wrong. You know, like there are unfortunately like churches and people that will say, like they would look at my life at being a pastor and they would say like, if that wasn't from the beginning of time, God's like perfect will for your life, it doesn't matter anything you try to do because you weren't in his perfect will. God discounts everything you did in good intention. And that is not this place, okay? So my thing is like, if you're busy, you're gonna end up at wherever you're aiming, that's where you're gonna end up. And so as long as you're aiming to please God, like just don't stress about that. Like you're hearing what they're saying is just, I just want to put that disclaimer out there that it can be very intimidating, but we are like, if our aim is to please Jesus, like you're gonna be okay. Like God is gonna honor what you're doing. And so, all right, let's get to another super important question that I think is important for all of us. Chipotle or Moe's? Like I think we just need to like settle this, or a write-in ballot, I guess.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna bypass you on both of those and say Willie's.
Willie's?
Willie's? No.
Most people don't.
All right, so fun fact, today I tried Austin's because Bryant has been talking about Austin's forever, and it is so good. So I don't know, I'm gonna have to pick Austin's.
I have literally never been to somewhere outside of Chipotle because my family loves it so much, and they just drag me along, so I'm going with them.
E. coli gang? I bet, that's how you rockin'? Dude, you cannot beat, no matter what you say. If it's a Sunday, Atlanta United wins by 3 goals. Monday, $5 burrito, and then you come in with the $3 off. You have a $2 large burrito. That's 2 meals. So obviously it's Moe's.
You definitely could get a $2 large burrito from Moe's, and you also get what you pay for, because Moe's is hot garbage. Moe's is hot garbage. Listen. Moe's is like the Walmart brand Chipotle. Chipotle is bougie. Chipotle is quality. Chipotle is in God's will. Amen.
Wow. I like Moe's. Straight up, I think Moe's is great. I don't know about all that Chipotle stuff. It's all right, but...
It's the recency bias, though. It's because, like, you're not allowed to travel outside of Hamilton Mill. Like, Mall of Georgia is too far away.
Yeah,
all right,
right?
Who's on Team Moe's? How many guys are Team Moe's?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm gonna go against the majority and say Moe's. I like Moe's.
So who else is on Moe's? I need to see. Like, you're on Team Moe's. Who else is on Team Team Alternative Write-In? What is it? Barbaritos? How many of you guys know about that spicy steak at Barbaritos? Hello.
Chipotle
Austin's,
is my life.
Willie's, Chipotle. Yes, thank you.
Hello.
All right. So I'm gonna agree with everyone. I'm gonna be like the neutral party. I'm gonna agree with everyone. Yeah, like there are some good alternatives, yes. Moe's, because I'm a cheapskate and they got like kids eat free type of nights. But I also agree that you get what you pay for. And secret menu on Chipotle, you get a little bit of that lime juice on your burrito. It's a game changer, I'm telling you. Like, it's the best quality. You get what you pay for. Yes, 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 and yes.
That was
so
the
be
cheat
it.
answer.
Thank goodness for
Not fair.
burrito. Thank God for burrito joints. Like, that's what I'm just gonna say.
Thank
Like,
God for burritos.
just think, you know. Just think. There was a day and age where there wasn't a Chipotle or a Moe's. And I will also say, y'all are mostly too young to even remember when Moe's was like a fun place to go. The older people like know what I'm talking about. You walk in and you entered a party with like the welcome to Moe's, and now they're like, "Can I help you?"
Welcome to
Watch your
Moe's.
step. Watch your step on the sticky floors. We'll get to it when we get to it.
Yikes.
Wipe your own table. Not like Chick-fil-A though. They know how to treat people right. I see you, Trey. All right. Next question. This we talk about this a lot, but I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Are Christian friends really that important to have?
Ooh, I'll get this one. Christian friends, yes, extremely important. When I started coming to the Capitol, well, it was 212 and stuff, but
212?
212. If you've been around for 212, represent. But when I first started coming to church, I live out far away from everybody, so I actually don't go to high school with any of these people, other than Whitney.
Appalachie in the house?
Wait, Appalachie, we got like 4 people. That's right,
Look,
that's right.
see, there
Appalachie,
you
we're
go.
growing.
We see you.
We're growing.
We see you.
We're
You're not
growing.
alone.
Okay, but when it was
Have
212.
quadrupled our attendance at Appalachie. Let's go.
Quadruple, yes. Okay, but when I first started, it was just me. So I didn't really have like a good group of people that I could hang out with at school and hang out with here at church. But when I started developing these friendships here, these are like the same friends that I've had support me through my lows and through my highs and through all the in-betweens with that. I mean, from Kik group chats. Do y'all remember Kik? Oh gosh, yeah, we had full-on Kik group chats. It was, yikes,
When your throwback
sorry.
is 2 years ago.
It was, I'm telling you, it's been a long time. But I will say, it's been so important to have people that you can, even in a middle school and high school time, to be able to turn to people your age and trust and know that whatever you say or what you're going through won't surprise them, but instead they'll respond with praying over you. And like when you have friendships like that, it changes everything because high school's hard. Middle school is hard. High school is super hard. And I think making choices and being surrounded by people that are being pulled every which way, right? Because like the earth, I find the earth and everything, everyone trying to satisfy our souls with different things. But like, I feel like our friendships that you develop here within the Capitol, or even just, I mean, good Christian friends, when you prioritize that, like it becomes, everything else underneath it becomes easier because you've got people that are willing to fight with you and not just be like, oh well, sucks that you're in that spot, hope you get better. Like, you're just not gonna make it, you know? So, super important to me.
I would say it's absolutely important to have Christian friends because iron sharpens iron, and so you need people to challenge you. You need people to pray for you. When you're going through those lows, you need somebody to say, hey, I'm going to love you through this, and I'm going to pray for you through this. Because if not, you're not going to really make it because you don't have that person there to say, hey, have you read your Bible today? Hey, have you prayed? If not, I'm going to pray with you. But I will say, to a certain extent, all your friends should not be Christian because that's not what Jesus would do. That's not biblical. And so you need to spread yourself to where you are still Jesus, but you also have those people around you who are going to still encourage you and say, hey, let's go talk to that person that doesn't seem to have any friends. Or, hey, let's go hang out here where we can go just evangelize just on a weekend. And Christian friends are so important, but it's also very important to realize that that shouldn't be your main source of friends to a certain extent, just because to be a Christian, you need to actually go out into the world and evangelize. So
That's so good. Yeah, that's really good. I definitely would not be in the spot that I'm at right now if I didn't have a good group of Christian friends behind me. I think we tend to not underestimate, but we just don't realize the power of having people around you who are positive and who believe the same things as you and who can speak life into you. This is what everybody says when they talk about friends or whatever, but you show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Yeah, there you go, right? Okay, that's super cheesy or whatever, but it's totally true. I'm the type of person, and a lot of people know this, but when I start hanging out with people or getting close to people, I start mimicking what they do. Whether that be in saying the same things that they say or truly just acting out in the ways that they do. I catch on to their humor or they have certain interests and I think they're cool, so I want to be interested in the same things that they're interested in, and that can be a dangerous thing. And I think we have that all inside of us, because whether you believe it or not, you start acting like the people that you hang around. And I'm so thankful that I was planted in this church, and I randomly met a really good group of Christian friends who care about me and care about their walk enough to be able to spend time with God and be able to overflow into me what they're learning. And we all grow at different paces, but we're at the same time, a lot of us are all in the same place as we're moving, and it's just super important to be able to have that behind you, because it's what carries you through a lot of your life.
Yeah, I love the balance on that. Hopefully, obviously, you guys have your small groups. That's the idea, is that you have this place to call family. The importance of that, but also not letting it stay there. That going out and reaching non-Christians, I think, is awesome. When you read the Bible, how important it is to have Christian friends and be as brothers and sisters in Christ. But also the mandate to go out into all the world. But also Jesus never sent them alone. So I think that's really cool. Of just he always sent them as Christians together into a hurting world to share the love of Jesus. So I think that's cool. One, I'm going to pick up this ginormous thumbtack that's on the floor before I forget to do that later. I don't know if you guys saw that earlier from the chair. Death by ginormous thumbtack would have been a bad way to go. Second, shout out to my discussion group who's making plans to go to Moe's after tonight. I see you guys trying to blow up my phone. I love it. That's good stuff. So let's take over. But some of you guys can't go all the way to Mall of Georgia to go to Chipotle. So, Moe's it is. All right. I know. It's so sad. Yeah, that's a different story for a different day. I got to move on. I used to feel bad. Not feel bad. I used to deeply admire all the people that take Uber to get here. And then I'm like, wait, you don't have a car. That is your car budget. I don't feel bad for you at all. I used to have to gas my own car when I was 16. All right, old stories. Where am I? All right, here we go. How are you able to stay a Christian in an unchristian environment and or home? Did I say that right? How are you able to stay Christian in an unchristian environment?
I love this question because it speaks so closely to my heart and my testimony. And so I didn't grow up in a Christian household. I started coming to church my freshman year. And as soon as I said, yes, I'm going to be a Christian, my home life changed. My parents didn't support me, and just so many things started attacking me when I went home, of all places. And that broke me so much. And I would go home and have fights with my parents about what I knew in my heart to be true and what they didn't. And I would be in tears. I would go in my room and I would call up a friend and just sob to them, because I was just so broken that my parents didn't believe what I did. And it took discipline to say, I'm still going to believe this, even though the people that are supposed to be closest to me do not, and that they don't support me. It took discipline to say, yes, God, I'm going to obey you. And I think it comes down to obedience. And I want to point out first that delayed obedience is disobedience. And you need to get that in your mind before you say, when you say, yes, God, you have to go do it. And that was one thing I had to quickly learn. That is when I said, yes, God, I have to go talk to that person. I had to go do that. And that's really what started my journey in coming strong in my faith. I went home and I said, I'm going to read my Bible every day. But it took discipline to do that, because that's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to go home and say, I'm going to set a time set aside time to pray. But it took discipline to the point where I engraved those verses into my heart, because this is the only just fulfillment I got during the day. This is the only fulfillment I got at my home of all places. And it got to the point where if I didn't do it before bed, I wouldn't sleep. If I forgot to pray, I wasn't going to sleep, and I had to realize that pretty quickly. If I wanted to sleep, I needed to pray and read my Bible. And what I would just want to say to you is that you need to, whatever God is calling you to, go after that with everything. Live your life in testimony of worship to him, because that is the ultimate testimony that you can leave on this earth. And that no matter where you are, in an unchristian home, an unchristian environment, leaving the testimony of Christ is more important than what anybody else is going to say in that environment. And leaving that love is more important than what anybody else is going to think or say, because ultimately, you're the one impacting them, not them impacting you.
So I know for me that unchristian environment was definitely high school. I know that once I started high school, it kind of changed me. And I know all of us go through change as we enter high school, some good, some bad. And so I started coming to the Capitol as a sophomore. And so my freshman year was just kind of a wild year of disobedience and all of that. And so going from that to coming to church and seeing what a healthy environment was a big change. And so for me to go to high school now and be around that environment is just kind of that thought process of like, when am I the influenced and when am I the influencer? And I think it's important for you to have that biblical community to where you know that what you're talking about, what you're doing is correct, and you have that support group, kind of what they were talking about, to have that support group that you can go back on and talk to during hard times, and then where you can go into high school and be like, I'm going to influence these people rather than get sucked in and do whatever they're doing. So kind of like what Shelby was saying, I think it's important that you know your place in different situations. You know when you can step out and be in a certain group, especially when it's not full of Christians. And I think sometimes that's healthy too, because it strengthens your faith, and it shows that God, even though I'm not surrounded by this group, I'm still faithful to you. I'm faithful to what you've called me to do. And so I think it's just a thought process that you have to go through and know where to put yourself and where you can just be that type of person. So
that's awesome. Let me ask this question to you guys. How many of you guys are in a home that your parents love Jesus? Like, not that they're perfect, but like you know that they love Jesus. Okay, so that's a good chunk of the room. I didn't want to ask the other end, like the opposite of that question, because that'd be a little bit awkward. I understand that. But just, if you raised your hand, like, you just need to know, like, you are in the vast, like, minority. Like, you are the rare ones. You need to count your blessings. Like, some of you need to go home and just hug your parents and just be like, thank you. Like, thank you for giving me a Christian home, you know? And so I think along with that, you know, if you haven't had to face those environments, whether, you know, it's school or family, like, you're gonna get a job. Like, the chances of, we joke about this at the church, like, I love being around non-Christians because that's so rare. I work with Christians, I'm a pastor, like, I hang out with all y'all, and so, like, I like being around some people that are a challenge from time to time. But I think it's important to kind of pre-think what your response is gonna be in those environments. Like, how are you gonna handle a work environment where you're the only Christian? Like, how are you gonna go off to college and not be with other Christian friends right off the bat? Like, what is your plan to bring light to that dark world? And so I think that's important to do that. But again, if you are like what Shelby was saying, just the environment where your parents are against it, I just want to applaud you guys. Like, that's a big deal that you guys would press through and like be here and pursue Jesus, like, no matter the cost. And I know that's not always easy, but I'm proud of you guys for doing that. And so just want to show you guys some love for that. Like, that's awesome. That's a really, really big deal. And just getting to watch Shelby do that in her time here has just been awesome to see. So, all right. I did not write these questions. So which sermon did you remember the most and why? So whether myself, one of the other speakers, Jeannie, whatever that may be, from your time here at Capitol, what's like a message or a night here at the Capitol that you remember and why?
Okay. So who went to Endgame? Anyone remember that? Yeah. Okay. That was my first ever high school retreat. and it was awesome. And I'm pretty sure that was the one where Jeannie did the message called "Don't Come Off the Ice." Yeah, right. It was, oh my gosh, it was so good. And that just immediately came to my mind. It was such an impactful moment for me because it just set such a clear picture of the vision I wanted for my high school career and for just life in general. I don't know, it's been a while ago, but it was a story about how a bunch of Christians were forced onto this lake and they just were martyred for their beliefs. And it was amazing to see and hear about how faithful they were, that they stuck through it and gained the ultimate victory by proving that Christ is strong enough to get them through that. And that was just an amazing moment for me because that was who I wanted to be. I wanted to be someone who'd be faithful, someone who'd stick it through and would eventually give God the glory that people would remember. So that was an amazing night for me. That's what I remember.
That's really cool. So backstory to that night. How many of you guys were at Endgame? Just curious. Okay, some of you guys. That was the retreat where Mike Miller was our speaker for that weekend. He was from Canada, and he got snowed in on Friday night at retreat in Canada. His flight got delayed. And so we had to walk into Jeannie's office, and we're like, we got good news and we got bad news. And she was like, okay, hit me with the bad news. Our retreat speaker is stuck in Canada. And the good news is the Jeannie Mayo is in our office and is going to be speaking tonight at retreat. This is Friday afternoon. Like, retreat is in hours. And she pulled that night together in a matter of hours. And we're all just like, oh, God, I hope this goes good. Because it was literally, like, off the cuff. Like, she had recently preached that, but that was a powerful night. That's awesome.
Yeah, totally. There's a few, actually. I was going to say Ikigai, but then when she brought up Jeannie Mayo, it made me think of back to the Influencer series where they talked about the golden rule, which is what I think Jeannie Mayo did that one? I have no idea. But so much for my favorite message. But, like, it's a very simple rule, like, do unto others as you want them to do unto you. It's the golden rule. Yeah, everyone knows it. But, like, do unto others as you would like them to do unto you.
You know what I'm saying? You did.
Yeah, my B. But, yeah, it's interesting when you look at it in the context of the Bible because there's Paul, who was a leader, and, like, when God sent him out to write the letters to all the people, he was like, just go and get them. Like, there was no real, like, this is what you do step by step, this is how you talk to them. And throughout the letters, I was doing this devotional on Paul's legacy leadership style. And the way he speaks almost as if, like, he's coming under them. And, like, it always says that in the Bible, like, you know, you gotta lower yourself if you want to be above. And that's how real leaders work. But, like, reading his, like, verbiage and the way he talks, it's almost like he's not commanding them. He's asking them to join in with him. And as a leader, like, I think that's, as someone who's growing in leadership at that point, I think it's very important for me to learn that I'm not a manager. Like, the fact is that, like, I'm in the battle with them. And the fact is that it gets realer for me if I'm in the trenches with someone. Otherwise, if I remove myself, then it's just, like, you know, basic stuff.
Okay, so for me, I'd have to say, it was a couple of retreats ago. I don't remember exactly what retreat, but it was with Kevin Ramsey. He was awesome. So for me, I'm more of like a visual person, and so his sermon really got to me because he was describing this incident that happened to him where this intruder came into his house and he was stabbed multiple times and just, it was like craziness. And so, like, the ultimate point of his message was kind of like when he thought God was the furthest away from him, when all these things were happening to him, and he was just kind of, I remember he said he was laying on his kitchen floor and he was thinking like God, where are you? Like, what's happening right now? And he said that when he thought God was the furthest away from him, he realized that he was the closest to him. And that hit home for me because at that time I was just kind of going through some stuff and I was just like, man, like, I feel like God is nowhere near me. All this stuff is happening to me. I'm doing all of this. I'm doing all of that. And so when he was talking about that, I was just sitting there thinking, like, because he went through all the scenarios, he like went back into his story and he was like, God was here when this happened. Like, he made this happen so that this wouldn't happen. And so I was just like sitting there reflecting on my life, and I was like, man, that's so true. Like, things could have gone south so quickly, but then God was there. God has always been there. And so, like, that's something I encourage in you guys. It's like, when you think that God is nowhere to be found, when you think that he's not near you, when you think that he doesn't hear you, that's probably when he's the closest to you. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Those were some profound answers. I was waiting for like Capitol Christmas Live or like Drop the Mic when Oba did stand up, or the music videos.
That was a pretty good time.
Were pretty good.
The tongue one? The one at the retreat where he was hitting people with a cow
gross.
tongue?
No.
Y'all don't remember that one?
Bleh.
Was that
No.
212?
That was old school. No, that was that predates me.
Oh.
Dang, that was like 35 years ago.
Oh.
Dang. Funny because I got the microphone. All right. Let's go one more question. And this one, I think this is a good spot to land because this one comes up often. I think this is one of those like, I would call them like an invisible barrier. So I'm curious how you guys would just respond to this. This is the question. I feel like I don't have many friends at the Capitol. I don't want to become bitter, and I really do like it around here. But how do I develop stronger friendships when it seems like everyone else is so close and I'm on the outside looking in?
That is a good question. The first thing that God ever like generally concluded about humanity after he made them, after he called all of creation good, the first thing God ever concluded about mankind was that it's not good for them to be alone. That was the first thing he ever said about humanity, or about Adam, but about humanity as in general. It's not good for them to be alone. And even when you look at Moses in his exile, he was exiled with his family. And when you look at like the ark, everyone had a family. The animals even were 2 by 2. And so it's not God's intent to leave us alone. It's not God's intent to let us like suffer the weight of loneliness and having to do life alone. So it's really important to find those friends. And so I really commend this question, because whoever asked this question, like you're really asking the right stuff. You're looking for the right questions. Yeah. And just the way that the Christian life is set up, the way that God designed life for us, like Oba said, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Just by doing that, you're going to be surrounded by people with similar ethics at least. You're going to be surrounded by people who treat you how you want to be treated and vice versa. And, to sacrificially love, the Bible says there's no greater love than when someone lays down their life for their brother. And to be kind, to be generous. The way that the Bible describes someone who loves Jesus is also a person who loves people. And that's why the commandments are together, to love God and to love people. That's the whole summary of the Bible, basically. So to continue to pursue Jesus is really to continue to pursue good friendships, like as a fruit of that. And just one practical tip I would give is to pray for your friends before you know them. Like, when you're going into a new situation, going into a new season, or even in the season you're in, just pray that like you would find people to love, you would find ways to receive that love yourself, because I know that can sometimes be really difficult for some people. You would find ways to serve and to be served, ways to bless and to be blessed. Just pray for your friends like preemptively. Go like a step ahead of time and talk to God about the people that you might be talking to in a little bit.
All right, so is it okay if I give a little tough love? Is that good with y'all? Because here's the thing. When I heard this question, the first thing in my mind that came to me was the idea and the spirit of being a victim and entitlement. And hear me out before I go into this. How many of you have seen 13 Reasons Why, the TV show? Okay. All right. So here's the thing. This scene just sticks to my heart because I feel like it's really evident in our everyday lives. So there's this scene where Hannah Baker is the last episode, and she goes to her counselor's office, and she's like, I'm going through these things. And so he's like, all right, let's talk about it. Well, how did you feel? She's just being kind of quiet. The phone rings. He answers. He's like, I got to pick it up. Give me just 1 second. So he goes to answer it, and she stands up and walks outside of his office. And when she walks outside of his office, he's screaming. He's like, Hannah, come back. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. And she walks out, and in her little recording, she says, I stood out your window, but you didn't come out to get me. So this is why you're the reason why. And she goes home, and y'all know kind of what happens from there. That scene shook me because part of it's like, all right, you're hurting, and I think that hurt is real, feelings are real, but if you're in the room and somebody's having a conversation with you, if you're pushing away and you get up and walk away, at that point, people don't need to chase you. You know what I mean? Loving God is a choice. God wants to pursue you. God wants to love you. But if you push him out, he's not going to force his way in. He's a gentleman. And I think this goes with friendships here at the Capitol. I hear it a lot. I do know, yes, this senior class specifically, we're pretty close. And I hear it a lot when other seniors come in, oh, but everybody's so close, I don't want to barge in, or I don't want to feel bad. And I get it. Maybe I'm not standing on that side. Maybe I don't understand the picture so clearly, but what I will say is there's intention. When you make effort in something, people will see your effort, and they'll be like, hey, I see you trying to hang out with me. I see you wanting to make conversation. Let's talk. But if I come out to you and I'm starting to have conversation, or I'm texting you and you're just like, no, I don't want to do that, or you don't show up to events, or not saying that events are everything, but you get my point with the idea that if people are coming out to you, because I know that at the Capitol, we've got small groups every month, okay? If you're not trying to talk to people and you're just sitting there and you're like, oh, but I've got no friends, we have small groups once a month, okay? So that's guaranteed at least 12 Capitols in 1 year where you can sit one-on-one with somebody and have conversations. Not only that, but our leaders are so awesome that they go out of their ways to plan events and go out and do outings, go out, hang out at the mall, go to the movies, go do all this fun stuff at the park. If you're not showing up to them, that's not their fault. They're not gonna chase you. I mean, I'm speaking from my heart because I've seen both sides. I've seen how it works both sides. And I know that our pastors, Pastor Matt and Pastor Amanda, this is to everybody. They are so willing to hear from us. And this is something really big. If you see a problem that you don't like here at the Capitol, fix it yourself. If you see that the welcome team isn't that welcoming, guess what? You take initiative and you stand at the front of the doors and you welcome each person that walks in this door. I'm just really passionate about this because I think we sit here and we victimize ourselves. And, oh, I don't have any friends. I don't have people around me. Can we all take a look at all these people? When's the last time you got up and shook a hand and said hi? I'm just saying, I love y'all. But come on. So I'm gonna leave it with that one.
That's really good.
No, I think it's good. I mean, that's part of it is like this class built that. You know, like they had to make the decision. Like we talk about it all the time. You got to be a thermostat, not a thermometer. Like like to make judgments about atmospheres takes no character. You know, but to be the one that says like this is the bar, I'm gonna make sure everyone reaches that is awesome. And I will say like I understand the perspective of the question, but I do want to say like for the most part, it's an invisible barrier. It's just that it's part of that like middle school, high school tension that you feel insecure, but everyone feels insecure. It's definitely a perception that everyone fits in and you're on the outside. Truth is like everyone, if everyone just think about this sentence, if everyone thinks that everyone else but them is on the inside and you're on the outside, that would make everyone on the outside with an invisible inner circle, right? Like that logic just doesn't make sense. If everyone's thinking all of you guys are on the inside and I'm the only one on the outside, then there's some like intimidation, non-truth to that. And so the other reality is it doesn't get any easier. You know, like as you get older, as you move on to a new place, you get a new job. Like, hey, shout out to Bola wherever you're at. Bola, it just got hired on here at Victory Hamilton Mill. She started today officially, and so if you ever call the office or stop by the front desk, she is now the official first impression of Victory, straight out of the Capitol. I think that's awesome. But I was thinking about that. You know, to know her is to love her, but she's got to all over again get to know this a new work environment. Like all over again, she's gonna have to look at a new environment and be like, oh, all these people are already friends, and it takes effort to get into the middle of that. And so it's just a constant process. And so. It's the individual choices of that. And that's why I wanted to kind of end on that. It's the individual choices over the past several years of people making those tough choices to put themselves out there over and over and over and to choose to be a friendly person because people like people who like people, right? That those daily choices is what has made the Capitol what it is today. And so I think their greatest desire is that continues as we go forward. And so so that's kind of, we're going to transition into another kind of segment of the night as we get ready to wrap up. But can you guys give the panel one huge round of applause as they did really awesome.